Okay guys, so got a little bit bored today. Since the weather outside is frightful and snowing like crazy, so I thought I'd just take this guy apart just really quick because I have not seen inside of it, and I'm sure you guys might want to see inside of it too, so I thought I'd share that. Right, so I have taken the liberty of removing, or at least loosening, most of the screws. I'm happy that HPI or Toki Manufacturing did not decide to use Phillips screws in the cylinder head, because if you strip them and they're way down in there, they're an awful big bastard to get them out. And they are 2mm in case you wanted to know. So we're going to pull out this guy, pull out the other guy, and remove the back plate here. Then have a look inside and see what we got in there. Where's the other one? That's it there. Yeah, I've been wanting to get out and go for a rip, but unfortunately, like I said, the weather's just been absolutely terrible. It's currently, I think, like -5, -6, something like that. Not warm. I'll be right back just a moment here. Okay. All right. Try and keep some frame here. Sometimes I have the habit of doing that, is kind of start moving away while I'm working on stuff. Some people have noted me on that, which is fine. Anyways, so we're going to pull off this back plate. This is a bump start engine, so no pull start, although it can be converted to one. You need to buy a special, well, I wouldn't say special, but a pull start crankshaft, and you got to find a starter shaft and a one-way bearing and back plate and pull starter and da-da-da-da, and all the screws to go with it. So it's not hard. It takes about 10 minutes if you were so inclined to want to do that. Okay, so we got a gasket on there. Looks to be some sort of paper. Ooh, very interesting. Well, okay, I don't have a crankshaft here to compare, but if you guys see that gas passage where I'm looking at, you can see how big it is, and that kind of outer round egg-shaped feature it has. Very different compared to other small block like 15 HPIs and stuff. So you can get that sleeve out of there. So it is an ABC sleeve. Most of these are ABN. But because you can put these together backwards, so what I'm going to do, and it doesn't hurt anything to do this, and I'll tell people this. I already know which way it goes, but see, you can, on the back of the connecting rod, you can just put like just a little tiny, see the mark there? Yeah, a little tiny mark. And that way you know for next time that you're putting it together the right way, because if you put it together wrong, shit ain't gonna work. So look at that piston. Yeah, so it's typical HPI style piston, like how the Toki engines are, and even the what do you call them there? The OS engines, like the 15 and 12 CVs. So it's got that port and the piston there, and always whenever you take apart one of these little HPI or OS small blocks, if it has a port in the piston like that, it faces this way. It faces to where it says HPI. It faces opposite to the exhaust, always. Otherwise, it will not run at all. This is held in by dual wrist pin clips. There's one there and one there. Nice CNC machined aluminum rod. It's got bushings at both ends. Very nice. CNC piston. For an engine that's, well, probably over 20 years old. I mean, this is pretty cutting edge stuff here. Let's see if you can get, there's a little prop driver. You don't need these. It's just, they just put them on there. I don't know exactly what the reason is for it, but yeah. Very nice machine work in there. Well, you guys can see, but yeah. Alright, let's have a look at that crank. So this is what I'm talking about here. So obviously this has different timing, but you can see, focus, you fucker. You see that shape that I'm talking about. I'm going to pause for a second just to see if I can find a crank to compare that to. I'll be right back for a minute here, guys. Alright, so I found, and this is an OS 12 or 15 CV or CVX crank. And here's the HPI crank. So you can see the difference in what I'm talking about, the hole in that crankshaft. Look at how large the intake port there is in the front. And it's quite big, so obviously they changed a lot of things in here. Very interesting. Never seen that before in a Toki engine like this. Very cool. And again, this is a very thick ABC sleeve. So it looks like it's got kind of, let's see. I don't know how you guys are picking that up, but check out that transfer port. See, it's kind of got that swoop that goes in. Kind of right there where my fingernail is. That's an interesting port job. Never seen that before. Huh. They did the same thing in the exhaust port too, look at that. And the boost port right there. Very nice. A lot of people say that Toki engines are junk. They're not, actually. They're actually quite good engines. I mean, this is a pretty old style design. I mean, usually the newer stuff will have that kind of little thin groove machined into the top of the piston here to help trap oil and build better compression and things like that. I mean, that's just kind of an old design, this model here, but I'm sure if that was done to this and that boost port might have been changed a little bit, you could do that and it would probably be even better. But for an engine, like I said, that's probably 25, almost 30 years old. That's pretty neat to see that. And it's got typical, it's never been run, it's just, I just put some oil in there, you know, for storage. But you can see it's twin ball bearings, and it's just a steel shielded front bearing, non-sealed. You can take this out and put a sealed front bearing in there if you want. And they don't actually really seal. If it's tuned properly, they don't even barely leak at all. If they're running really, really rich or a lot of oil in the fuel, they'll tend to leak. But yeah, and of course it's got that funky slide carburetor on it. People ask, well, how do you connect stuff to it? That little hole there, you screw one of those little socket things. It's like a ball cup thing. I can't remember what it's called. But yeah, you screw one of those in there and you hook that up to your throttle linkage. I was going to take the carburetor off, but I don't think I'm going to bother. Doesn't look like there's anything really too interesting in there to see. But yeah, very interesting to see that port job in there and the level of detail they went into port matching everything and how that crankshaft looks. That's pretty crazy. I'll show that again. Yeah, you can see that. That's pretty cool. So, because it says bolt-in, what does it say in the box? I think it says 25% more power. 25% extra horsepower, which I believe it. But I'm going to pause for a moment and just going to clean these parts up a little bit with some brake parts cleaner, and we're going to oil everything and put it back together. So just hang on a minute. Okay, welcome back. Right. So we're going to put this back together. This is just, holy shit, this bottle's dirty. Didn't even realize that. Oops. This is just a mixture of ATF and like automatic transmission fluid and just 5W30 synthetic. I accidentally poured one bottle into the other, so now I have 1.5 liters of after an oil. So people that keep asking what that is, that's all I use. It's nothing special. Like I said before in many other videos, WD-40 is not designed to be an oil. It does kind of oil things a little bit, but it's not that great. So I'll put a little bit in that bearing, a little bit down the center there. Put some on that crankshaft. Just smear it all over the crank. You don't need to like soak it down, but you want to cover everything because over time shit can rust, and that's the last thing you want to have happen to a nice little engine like this is rust. Man, precision, fuck, I can't even speak today. Precision shit. Precision fit. Precision fit. I haven't had a drink today yet, guys. Holy cow. Precision. Freaking turning into an idiot here. Anyways, let's see what we got in there. Oh, there's a little bit of shit in there. Let's get that a little bit of clean out there. There we go. Perfect. Like I said, if you think it's clean, clean it again. You can't over clean an engine, trust me. The cleaner the better. You don't want any kind of shit or schmutz or whatever the fuck. People seem to like that word, schmutz. I guess I wasn't trying to copy, what's his name there by saying schmoo, but everyone else does, so release the schmoo. That guy's freaking hilarious. I believe he lives somewhere in BC. I'm not exactly quite sure where, but I'd love to bump into him one day. He seems like an interesting fella. AVE. So anyways, remember what I was talking about? There's that port and the piston right there. That faces opposite to the exhaust port. If you look through the exhaust port and you see that port, you put it together wrong. And it will not run. I can assure you that, because I've done it. Then you wonder why you're trying to start it and it won't fire. So one way you can tell is you look through the exhaust port and you move the piston and you see a hole, it's wrong. So turn it out, put it the opposite direction. That will go for most other small block HPIs, as well as the 15 and 12 OS engines and a ton of others. At any time you see that little extra port like that, put some oil on the sleeve, put some inside. That just aids in everything going back together easy. People are probably freaking out, why'd you break a seal on a new motor? It's fine. It's fine. Am I going to run it? Probably one day. I just don't know when I want to run it in. It's kind of a special piece, you know. And this does not have a locating pin for port timing in the sleeve. So what you have to do is kind of, let's see here. You're gonna, because yeah, you could easily put the sleeve in wrong in this. So you have to look in there and line up the sleeve with the inside of the exhaust port, which is usually about there. Let's see here. Just gonna make sure I got that correct. Oh, right there. Okay, so if you look real carefully, there is like a little dot right there, and you can see that little notch in the sleeve, so you know that way that your port timing is correct. Nice, very nice. Yeah, so you want to make sure you get that proper, because if you don't, it will probably run a little bit, but it won't run very good. So just something to keep in mind if you do play with these things. Because I've had people before go, fuck, I took it apart and it doesn't run anymore. What did I do wrong? You touched it. That's what you did wrong. I mean, like I said, they don't make this style of engine anymore, and they haven't for many, many years. And you get some of the new guys, or some of the guys that have been in the hobby for a while that have never really worked on one of these, and they take it apart and they go, what the hell? This are Phillips in the back. I hate Phillips screws. I think the inventor should be kicked to the nuts. Like several times. Yeah. Yeah, I thought I'd just pull this thing apart on camera here for you guys to see what the inside looks like, because I was curious as well. Because I've never seen the inside of a 15SS before. And I just wanted to see what the differences were, because I know that HPI, or Toki, or, well, it's the same company anyway. Well, HPI has never made their own engines. They're all made by Toki, so I just wanted to see if there was any, what kind of differences there was, or anything special that I should know about. And now that I know, I don't have to worry about lose sleep at night. Not that I was losing sleep about it before, but just in case any of you are wondering. That's what the underside of the head looks like. Nothing special. Take a little bit of penetrating oil and just squirt that on the screws. Because you shouldn't put aluminum screws, or sorry, steel screws back into aluminum dry, at least in my opinion. So, head on. And if you notice that there is like channels, like those, like these two notches that are kind of cut here and here, and you can kind of see through the cylinder head, point that in the direction of airflow. So if the engine's pointed, you know, like this way in the car and it's moving forward that way, you want those two notches facing that the same direction so the air can pass through the cylinder head. That's actually kind of why they're there. I noticed a lot of people with the OS CV engines, the red V head and stuff like that, they often have the head on the wrong way, and it just, you know, the air can't really flow through it. People argue to the end of time about that one, but there is a right and wrong way to do it. Just like a lot of things, but people often don't want to be told they've done something wrong half their life. Let's see here. Nice and gentle, just like a mother cat moving her babies from one side of the barn to the other. There's another fuel experiment coming up here with some Klotz nitropropane. I'm sure some of you have seen that. A couple of gracious people from the Nitro group that is going to send me some to try. I did have someone say that it's not going to work, but I want to try that for myself because maybe they just didn't know how to tune properly. And that way I could actually document it in a video for people to see it in case they were curious about it. And yes, the Pro 15 is going to be getting run with gasoline again and the nitropropane additive. Now, I still do have that specialty glow plug right here. I am going to have to solder a bunch of shims together for it because it is extremely, extremely long, much longer than a normal standard plug. So, yeah, that's going to happen. That stupid old Pro 15 just doesn't want to give it up. It's really only good Traxxas engine I actually really even like. I don't really like the other ones, although I do have something up my sleeve here the next little while as soon as I have a little extra cash. Oh yeah, plenty of pinch, nice compression, which is going to be hand machining, well, with a drill press and an end mill and a piece of high-speed steel. I'm going to take one of these Pro 15 connecting rods here and I'm going to try to make one from scratch. Oil holes, no bushings, just like how the rods are in the diesel engines, no bushings. So I'm going to try and make myself one. Put it together with that rod and see what happens. The other thing I'm actually going to try and do is see if I can find a good condition 2.5 or 3.3 and make one for one of those just for fun, just to see what would happen, to see if it'll actually live. Oh yeah. Tons of compression. Beautiful. Clean up all that grease on there. Yeah, so I do have a few things up my sleeve here in the next little bit, like I was saying. Some fuel stuff and some experiments, because that's what keeps the hobby fun for me, because people always ask, well, what part of it do you find the most fun? Well, the experimentation end of it, just to see what's going to happen. I can document that, put it on YouTube so other people get the idea. Or, if it doesn't work, it's a true fact. And they go, okay, well, I'm not going to bother wasting my time then, because it doesn't work. Yeah, so like I said again, if you can ever see that hole in the piston on the exhaust side, you've done it wrong. You put it together wrong. But this isn't put together wrong, it's perfect. But, of course not. There we go. Put that back there so you guys can kind of see it. Just a beauty, a bonnie, and enjoy forever. Yeah, if I had another one of these, I'm going to see if I can find one. And maybe have it pinched if it is worn out. And I'd really like to see one of these things go. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people that have these, and they just said they absolutely freaking scream, and I completely believe it. So, I mean, the sad thing is when you have an engine that's this nice and perfectly new, it's kind of, you almost don't even really want to run it because you don't want to wear it out, you know. It's kind of a bummer, unfortunately, but really, really cool little piece for sure. At least now that you guys know, and you guys can reference some of my other videos of these type of Toki engines, the 12 and the other 15 that I've done work to. Look nothing like that inside. But just want to share that with you guys and hopefully enjoyed that. But until next time, thanks for watching and keep on burning nitro out there. Later.